Kathleen Kennedy, but I don't think that's that hard. I mean, that's a pretty low bar. What do you think, John?
Given the statements that she's making recently in that in this Rolling Stone article, I think you are. I mean, I don't consider myself a Star Wars expert by any means, especially when it comes to the EU stories. But I mean, the fact that you are denying that those EU stories even exist is just absolutely absurd.
I'm gonna guess that she actually doesn't know they exist.
There's absolutely no way.
You don't think there's any way?
No, they made a whole announcement about it in 2014.
Was she on that though? Was she on that?
Yeah, she was with Lucasfilm in 2014 when Disney took over. There's like a video of George Lucas sitting down with her, like saying like, "Hey, you're taking over like custodian of this." And she talks about earlier in the article how she has like a 35-year relationship with George and was with him on like Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I mean, she totally knows.
Bizarre statement, then. I can't even imagine this statement. So for everybody who missed it, I've got the bounding link in the description below. If somebody's in the chat, go ahead and link that too. But I've got the article up right now. This is John Trent, by the way, from Bounding Into Comics.
How's it going?
Introduce you and all that. We are big fans of Bounding Into Comics here. And this is like the entertainment news source that I just like rely upon at this point. So this is it. Please make sure you go to their website all the time. All right. And this is where we got. And yeah, I don't talk about Star Wars a ton. You might notice I've done a couple of reviews lately. I try to go against the whole corporate media shit. But I'm also trying to grow my YouTube channel. And I do get more clicks when I talk about this stuff. And so if that's what you're into, I'm going to give a little bit of it. That doesn't mean I'm going to stop promoting indie stuff. I'm going to promote indie stuff. I want to badly. I mean, we had a great guy in William Hastings on the other day when I had my stream, and go check out that stream so that you can go check out his book. And that's that. We're just going to do this in tandem. But I figured the way to grow this, we talk about what people want to hear. And then we also are like, hey, by the way, here's this indie stuff that's the alternative. And that's the way that we're going to have to do this to grow the channel and keep this going. So there's my little disclaimer. Let's read this right here. All right. So this is what she said, saying that the final entry in Disney's Star Wars sequel trilogy was a particularly hard nut to crack. She's a nutcracker, all right.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother can of worms right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Every one of these movies is a particularly hard nut to crack. There's no source material. There's no source material. Like, even if there wasn't an extended universe, you have 6 movies to draw from with like established characters.
Yeah. So, yeah, dude, this article, like writing this article is like, sometimes you're like, when I'm writing articles, I'm just like, okay, I'm writing an article, but something like this, it's infuriating how, how she's just blatantly lying.
Yeah.
It's just a blatant line. It's just so infuriating that the Rolling Stone person doesn't even challenge it, or if they did, it's not in their write-up that they challenged it. But I mean, it's just, yeah, like, I mean, just look at the freaking Force Awakens. It's a ripoff of the original Star Wars.
That's all it is.
You don't have source material,
right?
Yeah, so you don't have source material. It's just absurd when you literally copied the first Star Wars film when you launched your Disney sequel trilogy.
This is a great point over on Periscope. This is the same company that claims we have no material to use, but then steals ship designs from a game board. And that comes
we have
from
that article too.
Yeah, that came from another deal with the creator. I tried to get that guy on. He didn't respond to me, sadly. So,
but I mean, on Twitter, he seemed like he was okay with it.
Yeah,
and he was just like happy that they were using his stuff. But
that's not me.
Yeah, he did say they shouldn't do that, but he was like, oh, he thought he was flattered that official Star Wars was using his ship designs that I guess he said he like traces to or something like that to get the designs. But obviously the layout was his layout with how he had them all laid out on that.
So I'm going to help Kathleen Kennedy out here, because if she watches this by chance, I'm going to help her discover Star Wars.
Well, so you know what's even worse about this though is this comes out, and she definitely knows this. This comes out, what was it, a month ago. Bob Iger admitted that George Lucas gave them a treatment, and Lucas has talked about it, or an outline.
He has. I remember
that. He talked about that in that interview with the 60 Minutes guy or whatever. How like they were going a different direction from kind of what he saw the sequels going, and then Iger confirmed that they had an outline and they just threw it away. So they had source material there from the guy who like created Star Wars as well.
Right. Wow. Knowing that exists, I would buy a book that is just George Lucas's notes on what he would have wanted. Like, I mean,
else. I think I'll be honest. From what I've like looked into it, I think it changes from year to year.
Probably does. But that'd be cool to have a book of all those notes and just like, I mean, I'd read that. That's cool.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that would be vastly interesting. But like he talked about how like he like definitely after the fan reaction to Jar Jar Binks in Phantom Menace, he talks about how he basically wrote him out of the story moving forward, or like limited his role.
Yeah, so, what's interesting is this is not like, and I'm not saying this is like a weird thing. What happens a lot is writers get their rights, and people buy rights, but they often are able to buy books that are actually release these scripts themselves. And actually release notes and things like that themselves. And if you look at somebody who actually takes care of his property, even though there's a whole nother can of worms with this one, I'm referencing Babylon 5. Are you a Babylon 5 fan?
No.
Have you ever watched it?
I don't think I have.
Like zero? Oh my God, John.
I was watching Stargate.
Okay, we got to change this. We got to change this. It's tough because like they did not film it in a way that translates to HD or anything. So it's, you got to watch it grainy and shit like that. But
I don't have any problems with that. I'm catching up with Deep Space Nine, and
okay, cool.
The visual effects don't really bother me because the stories are still usually pretty good.
The Babylon 5 story, or the visual effects are way worse than Deep Space Nine. But this is what JMS did with his notes. I mean, I'm way on a tangent with this George Lucas notes things.
JMS is
he's the creator of Babylon 5.
Okay. Oh yeah, okay, that's what I thought you were talking about.
He actually just
also
put this
a
out.
very good comic book writer.
He is a very good comic book writer. Yeah, but he actually throws his scripts into a book here. And you can actually like read the original scripts, like before, actors ad-lib some stuff and change some stuff, and stuff gets changed with cutting and directing. So you get like the original scripts, you can follow along, see what got cut, everything like that. And he actually gives a little like synopsis of everything at the beginning of the book. So you kind of see what he was thinking at the time. And I find this brilliant. Like he just re-released these as like a new, he's redoing it. He did it several years ago. I have all of the script books from this, and there's unreleased episodes and things like that on there. And I think that's a really cool thing. Like, this is what I'm talking about with Lucas, potentially with Star Wars. That'd be amazing.
No, I think that's true. But if you read that Iger from his book, he says that Disney bought up those outlines, so they would
so he can't even do that.
Never see the light of day. Because once he heard about them, he had to get them.
He had to get rid of them, basically.
That's really what it. I mean, reading the book, or reading those like excerpts from the book, that's exactly what it sounded like.
George told me he had completed outlines for 3 new movies. He sent us 3 copies of the outlines, one for me, Alan Braverman, one for Alan Horn, who'd just been hired to run our studio. Alan Horn and I read George's outlines and decided we needed to buy them, though we made it clear in the purchase agreement we would not be contractually obligated to adhere to the plot lines. So they totally bought it just to squash it, just to make sure that he never went out there and was like, they fucked up my vision. Here's the real script. So exactly.
So this is it. Like, there's actually a little bit more quotes in if you click that link there, the related link, there's a little bit more like excerpts from the book, and this is all from like a Reddit leaker.
Wow.
But I think I don't know where it is. It's been a while since I've looked at that story. Because I just pulled the quote that I wanted to get for that one. That would make sense. I think it's right there. The truth was Kathy, JJ, Alan, and I. Like, so they literally already had. He's admitting that they already knew where they were going to go with Star Wars, basically before they
even contacted Lucas. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Gosh.
They that's why they bought it to
just
put
to
it in the
silence
vault.
it.
Yeah, to put it in a vault so it would never see the light of day. So no one will ever see it.
That's so evil. Like, just like from an artist's perspective and a writer's perspective, like I'm sitting here like somebody would buy something just to make sure it goes away. Like, and the corporate Hollywood studios do this type of thing all the time. This is not an isolated incident to these people. But that's what they do. And it'll even happen with like when they kind of steal material, that'll happen sometimes too. They'll just like kind of give the original writer some hush money to go away. And,
I mean, they made a movie off it. It's called Mr. Banks.
Right.
Or,
yeah, that's
like
true.
Disney literally made a movie about it.
They did. I know. I just watched it on Disney Plus, by the way.
It's actually an I thought it was a pretty good movie.
Me too.
But it also like shows you kind of like it gives you a little bit of like what's happening behind those corporate doors. And obviously it has the Disney veneer on it because it's a Disney movie, but you can just imagine.
They try to whitewash it. But the whole point is like this artist lady's like, they're going to screw up my vision for my books. And Walt Disney's like already like halfway done producing it. Like by the time he even like says hi to her. Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. He already had like his vision and everything that he wanted to do, but they needed her to sign some kind of like contract in order to like go ahead. And she basically like refuses to do it until like she goes through and like changes everything. And then I think the movie makes it out that Walt Disney eventually like sweet talks her and convinces her and she signs it. And then she goes into she wasn't even going to get invited to the red carpet premiere.
Awful.
And she shows up anyways. And I guess she like cries in the theater and which actually happened. She did cry, but it's unclear why she cried. I think the general perception is she cried because she thought her story was being destroyed by Disney.
Yeah. And I have not read what this made me want to do is read the original Mary Poppins source material more than anything. Because
that's racist, so you better watch out, according to the New York Times.
Oh no. Of course it is.
I think we did a story about that a couple years ago.
Gosh. I want to read that, but because I don't know what the source material looks like whatsoever, and I have no doubt that Disney just totally like made their own stupid thing with it. That's completely different. So, sounds right. Oh, yeah, terrible.
It was actually this year, February 4, 2019. New York Times runs op-ed implying Disney's Mary Poppins is racist.
Nice,
and they're specifically citing the source material from what's her name? I can't remember the author.
Gosh, you have an article for everything.
Oh, dude, we're pretty good. Pretty good.
Except for Babylon 5 script books.
Yeah, we don't have any. I don't think we have any Babylon 5 stuff. I'll have to see if one of our guys is a Babylon 5 fan.
The problem with Babylon 5, so the Babylon 5's caught in this weird thing, and it's been this way for 20 plus years, is the way the rights work out in Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers is really not set up to like build this like encouraging like monolithic empire that just like chugs things like Disney does. They've got competing divisions and they actually have competing bottom lines. So like the home video division like competes with the streaming division and competes with like the feature films division. And so they won't work together or
I have a feeling that's going to be changing.
Like it's got to, right? It doesn't make sense.
AT&T just bought Warner Brothers and what's his name? I think we did a story on that too. In their Q4 business call, he basically said we have no what's the word? Like there's a word there's a word for it, but it's like we have no golden geese or whatever. And it's not golden geese. That's not the right terminology, but
no sacred cows.
Sacred cows.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's what some animal. But yeah, so that's he said that, and you're already seeing them like make changes to a lot of their media divisions, and
it's interesting. But Babylon 5 had been caught within a rights war within its own company, and like so he couldn't go get a movie made without like all this permission that like they couldn't get done because it was on the TV network or whatever. And he found a way to like make a movie where it was not really, and like he was going to do something different because he had the rights to certain characters or something like that. It was very bizarre. And they attempted to make Babylon 5 movies like on 3 separate occasions. It was greenlit on 3 separate occasions, killed on 3 separate occasions, maybe even more than that by this point. Plus, there were various different TV shows that like were supposed to go through. And if you look at the sequel series Crusade from Babylon 5, which a lot of people hated, but it was just getting going, guys. And there was like an underlying plot behind it, which was going to like really open it up just like Babylon 5 did. But it all got killed by network and changed by network and all that stuff too. So he really just like couldn't turn this into a property that that like, you know, had multimedia capability just because like of all these rights. It's really upsetting. Yeah.
That's sucks. It's horrible, but I think
he couldn't even get it streaming for the longest time. It's finally, I think, on Prime. Let me check and make sure it's true.
I mean, I know you see that with DC. The what's his name, the CW guy Berlanti is always talking about how like, hey, we can't use Deathstroke anymore because they might be doing something with him with the movies, or
right.
So he's always talking about how like there's certain characters that they can't use because of the films or whatever, which just seems absurd.
Yes, Babylon 5 is streaming on Prime. You have no excuse.
There
You gotta go watch this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, there's so much stuff that I have to like old school stuff that I have to watch. I gotta watch, and then there's stuff that I need to read, and you just get behind.
This is the sort of thing I want to do a rewatch of, and like do a stream on every episode as I rewatch it. Like that is, I'm in love with it that much. I might do that. I don't know. Yeah. I always say I want to do things like that, but then like the commitment of like a 5-season arc, like actually making a new video on every episode and doing that's a lot of commitment, you know?
And it looks like it has a similar, I mean, that synopsis sounds very similar to Deep Space Nine.
Well, yes, he actually talks about that in his script book. And he has he pitched the show for 5 years before it even went to pilot. And he actually pitched it to Paramount. He said it as a Star Trek series, saying, "How about we do a space station out on the frontier, kind of out there between worlds? So it's like,
of course,
you know, more, you know, aliens are kind of conglomerating and all that. And I want a commander in charge of things, not a captain. And this was actually in a synopsis. And I want a female first. I want a female first officer.
Oh, yep.
And then I want a. So he didn't have changelings. He had a changeling net in the pilot. And so there was they actually have a like holographic display that like somebody wears and is a changeling bit in essence. And then of course support a call. And he's like, instead of doing warp drives, I want to have these like jump gate things to go to reach different areas of the galaxy or the wormhole. Right. So they copied every freaking element. I mean, allegedly copied. Every single element of it for Deep Space Nine. Now, Deep Space Nine came into its own really nicely, and I love that show too. But it's very, very coincidental. Very coincidental. Yeah. All right. I want to help Kathleen Kennedy out real quick, since Kathleen Kennedy
some advice.
Does not have any comic books. So I'm going to go to Marvel Epic Collections. As you know, I'm a big fan of the Marvel Epic Collections. And you scroll down a little bit here because these are complete collections at the beginning. That's kind of a different deal. You've got all this stuff. You got Spider-Man, you've got Ant-Man, you've got Black Widow, Conan the Barbarian, Defenders, Doctor Strange. It's almost like these are in alphabetical order. Oh, look.
Control F.
Star Wars. So, Kathleen,
I think Dark Horse collected a lot of those.
Yeah, these are all the Dark Horse ones that are recollected by Marvel, but they're in print right now like this. So very easy to find and very easy to read. I've reviewed a couple of them on the channel if you want to go check those out. We've got a whole Clone Wars series, which doesn't apply to the after, but it is.
You can still get ideas from it though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We've got a sixth volume of the Empire coming soon. So like during the time of Skywalker, you know, this is where you can find your villain for later, right? Because like, I'm sure there's extra villains who might be rising up in the Empire at this time. That might be pretty good for you. I don't know what Infinities is. So I'm guessing you don't either by your silence.
Oh, no. I don't. Yeah. Like I said, the EU stuff I'm not super familiar with.
But now we're getting into so Menace Revealed is like Phantom Menace era, so that's back then. But now we'll get into some other stuff. Legacy is literally the legacy left by Luke Skywalker, Vader, Leia, and all that. And and it's about like the next generation of Jedis and things like that. And it looks like they have 3 volumes of this with at least 50 issues out. That's a lot of comics. I mean, they don't have comic books. Here's 50 issues.
Dude, like Marvel, aside from like the Dark Horse stuff, Marvel did over 100 issues of their own that began in like 1977.
We're getting there. We're only like halfway through the Marvel epics that are out, and only half of the material that they're going to print is actually seen print for the epics. So there's that much.
Yeah.
Oh, here's the New Republic. Now this takes place. These are the two I've reviewed so far. I read these recently. This takes place right after the fall of the Empire, and it follows this character Mara Jade. I am sure you're at least familiar with Mara Jade. Yeah. So she's like a
Hand of the Emperor.
Yeah, Hand of the Emperor. She manifests Jedi powers. She kind of is a little different of a thing. You know, you want to have your strong female lead guys. This is a great one. You could have done this very easily, right? And all these, and then there's a Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire was a video game. This is like a sequel to that. And so you find out that Prince Shizor from Shadows of the Empire, who died, like had a sister or a cousin or something, trying to restart this like Black Sun underbelly crime syndicate thing, and it's actually a really good story too. So all this stuff right there, we have the Rogue Squadrons. If you want to focus on the X-wings and all that kind of adventuring, this is a great little storyline here. We've got more Rogue Squadron, and this is actually what you linked to in your article, which is Dark Force Rising. The Timothy Zahn trilogy of books, literally more than 800 pages of novels, was adapted then into comic books by Mike Baron, who's a great guy, great writer in and of himself. And that's right here. And this is actually why I started reading these. Is I'm good friends with Mike Baron, love Mike. And I wanted to read his adaptation of the Timothy Zahn novels. So I'm like, okay, I might as well go 1, 2, 3, 4 and read them in order. So this is all stuff like 1, 2, 3, 4, like thick volumes of almost 500 pages a piece.
I think they redid that too.
Right.
They just did like a Thrawn series where
they
readapted it.
Now the readaptation takes place during the Empire. So it's kind of like it takes place kind of like around the Rebels time.
Yeah.
So I've read all those, and they're great. They're not as good as these, but
I put it down. It was too slow.
Yeah, it was a little slower than these.
It reads like a novel. It doesn't read like a comic.
Well, because it is a novel.
I know, but still, if you're going to adapt something into a comic book form, you should make it read like a comic. Just like you wouldn't just like just take I wouldn't like just take your Justified book and like,
you're saying these read like a novel.
The new Thrawn book did. The new Thrawn comic book series.
Oh, I didn't read the comic book. I read the novel. So I was like,
yeah.
Why would you be upset that a novel reads like a novel?
Oh, no.
No. That makes sense on the comic book side. There was a lot of exposition because I feel like especially the first one was really setting up Thrawn's background and really just because Thrawn was kind of a mystery in the trilogy, in the original. And so they set up a lot of background, and so there was a slow start to it, especially. And I think that's where you kind of probably got that doesn't translate into like a visual medium very well.
No, it was very slow, and but this wasn't Mike Baron's. This was the new version that they did like recently that I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think that was adapted by somebody who I'm not super fond of. I can't remember. It's one of the girl power.
I think it was Jodie.
Marvel, new Marvel girl power writer. Yeah, Jodie Hauser. That's right.
She does all that stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have this much material just of future after the Rebellion Star Wars. We have our newspaper strips, of course. We have the Old Republic, which if you want to pull stories and like kind of like rejigger them, the Old Republic's a great spot to do so because these stories really are interesting. These are actually Dark Horse's best comics, probably. Something
I didn't even include in the article is like Kennedy has actually talked about doing like Old Republic stuff before.
I bet she has no source material for that either.
But yeah, no source material.
Yeah, it's sad. It'd be so easy to do if there was just source material, like an Old Republic video game or something.
Yeah.
And here's your Marvel Years one where you're talking about that Marvel actually produced themselves.
Yeah.
We've got our own Rebellion. We've got Rise of the Sith. And so, I mean, that's a lot of comic books. like not even getting into the novel, not even getting into the we don't have 800-page novels. She's right. I don't think there's a single novel that's 800 pages.
I mean, yeah, I didn't like look to see what the page count was. I just
they're
thought
mostly like 300, 400, 500-page books, like for like, you know, kind of light reading.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I mean, 800 is usually on the scale of high fantasy, epic fantasy, whatever you want to call it.
And I'd be bored in a Star Wars book that's 800 pages. That'd be absurd. So, wow. So this is the comic end. And then if she wants to delve into Star Wars extended universe novels, well, I haven't actually prepared for this.
Oh, there's a wiki. There's a link in the article if you want to scroll.
Oh, there
down.
Is. Okay, let's see that. So, so you actually try to help her out too.
Oh yeah. I thought
that's
this
nice
was hilarious. I found
nice
that.
of you.
Did you see that? It was called Star Wars: The Last Jedi in a comic.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. I found that.
Oh, that is gold.
Research.
That is freaking gold.
Yeah,
that's really funny.
But
man,
they don't look at source material for their titles of their movies.
So where's your link?
It should be where the novels are. Where I'm talking about the 800 novels. Keep going down. Maybe I didn't put it in.
I don't think you put it in. Oh well. List of Star Wars books. It's easy enough.
Yeah, it's on Wikipedia too. They have it all in chronological order.
Here's the original canon story. Okay, these are the new ones. So these are all garbage. So we're gonna ignore these.
There's a legends list on Wikipedia that has like all of them in.
Where's the Star Wars Legends stories? Here we go.
Yeah.
All right. So we have Tales of the Jedi, which is written by Kevin J. Anderson and company. I actually was I was actually out drinking with Kevin J. Anderson last week, so that was fun.
Sweet.
And he's good. He's a competent writer. There you go. And he would be willing to work with them too, for sure. Yeah, he told me an interesting story about like movie adaptations and the like, because he wrote one of the adaptations for one of the movies. I can't remember which one. And he said like it was such a like the movie studios are so absurd about this. Like they try to keep secrets from the public basically and keep the plot from leaking. So it's like apparently like he had to go watch the film like in some like studio or something like that, read the scripts in there and take notes, but he wasn't allowed to even like get a copy of it or to take it home, like to write the novel adaptation. And so he's just like,
sounds okay, right?
So I have to like really remember this very well. And he got like, 3 hours with it, and that was it. Like, and that's his entire ability to do things. And so he's like, like nerds, like I'm trying to, he's like, I'm trying to like write a movie adaptation. If I like get a line wrong, like I'm going to get eviscerated,
Yeah.
He's like, I can't write a story like this, but he had to anyway. And the deadlines they give these guys are so short on these novel adaptations too. He's got like 10 days to write it too. So
no, I sat in on a Insight Editions panel at New York Comic Con just like last month, I guess, in October. And these people were having to like turn around like cookbooks that are like have like canonized story involved in the cookbooks. And they're having to turn around a cookbook in like less than 6 months.
That's nuts.
So like, so this is like literally having to like create like actual like recipes for what people in the Star Wars universe would be eating and like drinking and stuff.
Wow.
You got to do that. And like they have like, there's really short timelines on this stuff. I think it's just crazy.
It's nutty. And like, that's the type of tight sealed, it's like, I'm writing the novel adaptation. You got to give me the script to the movie. But no, they're like that. They're that crazy about it. So it's very interesting. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want to work under those conditions. But then he told me the pay rate for it is pretty good. So
I would hope so.
Yeah,
and it's probably why what Chuck Wendig was so upset that he got fired.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they get paid pretty decently. I mean, the flip side is you don't own anything, so
right.
That's it. But otherwise, it's a weird gig. But it goes to show that like these movie studio executives really do not pay attention to like all this like tertiary source material whatsoever. Comics, books, they're very happy to pretend it doesn't exist, and they're not even happy. They won't even like cooperate with like the people writing the novel adaptations like as they're happening. It's like why? And he mentioned another one where it's like they were going to come out with a novel adaptation like 9 months after the movie came out, and it's like, well, who's going to want the novel adaptation 9 months like after you've already got it on Netflix and video and all that? Like you want to get it like the day it comes out in the theater or before, right? That's kind of the point.
You have to read the novel adaptation now to figure out what the
movie was about.
Plot holes are, so you know what the movie was about and why light speed suicides make sense in Star Wars now. Why Poe Dameron isn't like immediately incinerated by General Hux with his prank phone call.
Right.
I should have walked out after that because that was only 5 minutes into the Last Jedi, where they literally had exposition in the opening crawl telling us how General Hux basically has destroyed the Resistance, and there's only this like little fleet left, and then he's getting prank phone called and looking to be like a fool, and we had just seen him blow up like 5 planets with like that super whatever it was called Death Star.
This is I've only seen The Last Jedi one time.
Oh, I've only seen it once as well, but
so I don't even remember that.
It is like burned into my mind. It's so bad, dude. I can't stand that movie. It's an abomination.
It really is. Oh man, I just find this so absurd. So here's all the list. I definitely recommend these. I can recommend several books from this era if you guys are interested in books. I really liked Shadows of the Empire, which I mentioned there was a sequel comic to. In the New Republic Star Wars Epic collections. Steve Perry's cool. I'm friends with his daughter. And I really like these Bounty Hunter Wars. This was very fun. This kind of like it starts out, spoiler, Boba Fett's not dead. And he crawls out of the Sarlacc pit and then he kind of does his thing.
He eventually becomes an ally to Luke Skywalker and
it's very interesting.
Train younglings or whatever.
So this was a very good trilogy right here. X-Wing, I thought these were a little hard to get into, personally. I liked the comic versions of these a lot better. So, I don't know. You get what you want. Courtship of Princess Leia is one of the worst books ever written. Don't read this.
Sounds horrible.
And I like the title, to be honest. I know you say it sounds horrible, but I like this title. I think this title screams like an interesting Han Solo, Princess Leia romance. Like I would make a Regency romance out of it. That would be amazing. But it was just it was very long and expository, is what it ended up being. So that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, that title. It also sounds like Han Solo isn't involved in it.
That's the problem. Yeah,
and it might be like some random other person trying to like win her over or something.
Yeah. So my title would be Han Bangs Leia. All right. Because you get the right.
That definitely happens,
right? Yeah. I mean, if you get that, you're going to. That's a lot of because this is passive voice. That's the problem with the title. The Courtship of Princess Leia is passive voice. Han Bangs Leia is active voice, and that's the difference between good writing and bad writing. Is that fair?
Oh, I think Baron von
Schotterly.
Yeah, he's got it. That's the title you want.
That is amazing. Oh, we've talked the Thrawn trilogy. This is
probably should have. Then we wouldn't have had Kylo Ren.
Yeah, that's interesting. So Sean, then we have to get Han pulls out early, right? For that.
I mean, yeah, true.
So yeah,
well, I mean, Han shot early could work too. You just don't know when he's shooting. Where he's shooting.
Oh boy.
Maybe
I disavow this stream. I disavow this stream.
Maybe that's when he was in that stormtrooper outfit.
Oh, that's nice.
And he was missing all the time, you know.
Thrawn trilogy is the gold standard. If you have not read these, honestly, this is some of the best science fiction writing of all time. You don't even have to read Star Wars to like be into this. Everybody knows Star Wars, so it doesn't matter. But these are good books that stand in and of themselves. This is the holy trilogy of books. I strive to write this good. I don't think I write this good, to be honest.
Better than Dune?
I like this better than Dune because Dune suffers from sorry everybody. Dune suffers from a lot of exposition too because it's got that whole like omniscient perspective, and so it just like there's little expository periods in that are very like you can skip over whole pages, you know, and this does not have that. So that's the difference, I think. Let's see. What else do I like in here? The Black Fleet Crisis was pretty good, as I recall. I haven't read a lot of these since I was like 10. Interesting. Young Jedi Knights. Did you read those? I never read all these.
I did not read any like EU stuff. When I was reading like Dragonlance and I was reading like Tom Clancy.
That's cool too.
So yeah, I liked a lot of the Dragonlance. I read all that Dragonlance stuff. Like I ate
nice.
that up. And then I read there was this fantasy series that I think it was Margaret Weiss and Hickman as well. That was really good. It was like fantasy, but it was also like after a nuclear war or whatever. And like so the planet has been like there's like separate planets, but it's actually all one planet, and they've all been torn up. I forget what it was called.
The Hunger Games.
No, it was different.
Sorry.
I'll find it here in a bit.
Nice.
But I read a lot of like Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman stuff. I liked a lot of their stuff. My favorite character was obviously the anti-hero Raceland Magier. So I don't know if you know anything about Dragonlance, but it's called the Deathgate Cycle.
I don't know. I know Dragonlance was a great thing, and there's probably money in making a modern Dragonlance-ish thing at this point.
They've tried to do I think they made like an animated movie out of like the first book, but I mean, if you want a strong female character, they have like this one trilogy. It's this character named Mina, and she's actually like a blood god.
Interesting.
And she doesn't know it because she's been tricked by like the evil queen Takesis, who's stolen the planet from the other gods, and it's pretty good. Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, I liked it when I was I haven't read it since I was like in like freshman in high school or whatever, but
yeah, I know. I read a lot back then. I'm not reading so much now. I'm writing a lot now, so it's kind of a different deal, I guess.
I'm not doing that. I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm not doing the kind of writing you're doing, but
same deal. I mean, every day, yeah. Every day you're finding out what Kathleen Kennedy said.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
oh my gosh.
I mean, I mean, you could probably this could be like she could be a character in a fiction novel right now.
She could be Admiral Holdo, I guess.
I mean, she probably is.
Probably is. That's a self-insert character. Oh man.
I think it gets worse too. Because she like, I don't know, did you get to the part where she talks about like the people that they look for Star Wars films, and like they have to have certain sensibilities?
I got so shocked about these two lines, like that I was like, let's stream right now. Like that was it. I couldn't believe this exists. Like
this is just one answer. This is just one answer to like literally this. I don't include anything else from her interview. There's another article that I did from this Rolling Stone. There's a lot. I still haven't gone through the entire.
You still haven't gone through the whole thing. Here's the Rolling Stone. I didn't want to click on Rolling Stone, but you just made me. Okay.
It's just there. But I mean, this is just like that. Yeah, I think that's the. If you go up, you scroll up a little bit real quick. Yeah, right there. That's her one answer. So
this is the one. Oh man, wow, she's really verbose.
Yeah, she was literally asked, "Is this final entry in the trilogy a particular hard nut to crack?" And she goes on this like extremely long tangent,
about just like development process. Like people don't know how to make films, like in general, right?
I mean, I would say most people don't. I'll be honest. I'm probably a little bit uneducated about that, with like the nuts and bolts. But But yeah, I mean, you need a money, you need a director, you need cinematographers, and
but I'm just saying from a story perspective, like
right, yeah.
you just hire a writer who like knows how to write a beginning, middle, and end of a script or a story. Yeah, even just a plotter, and then you give it to a scripter, and like that's it. Like you just get somebody who like kind of knows Star Wars to plot it.
No, you have to start by talking to filmmakers who you think exhibit the sensibilities that you're looking for.
Oh, right, I see that. You start by talking, right? No, well, not for no, you don't. Like, why?
What are the sensibilities that she's looking for? I'm sure there are some people who have an idea of that.
I mean, did she call Martin Scorsese and be like, "I know you hate the Marvel films, so how do we do Star Wars Martin Scorsese?" Well, they failed at that too. They tried to Pulp Fiction it a little bit with that, like the scene with Rey and Kylo where they just slaughter all those freaking Emperor guards and Snoke. That's pretty Quentin Tarantino right there.
Yeah.
So,
it reminds me of the. Well, it's not even not as pretty. Like if you look at the Kill Bill scene when they're out in the snow with like Lucy Liu,
right?
It's actually like a visually stunning scene in Kill Bill.
It is
this fight in that Snoke's throne room is just, I don't know. It's like it's not like there's too much red.
It doesn't work out very well.
Yeah, the white with the blood is just, it stands out, and it's. I mean, I think it's just, it's like appealing. I don't know if that might be the wrong word.
I mean, so this is probably a big problem too. It's an evolving process with lots of people and lots of opinions. Then you try to shape something into what it eventually becomes. I mean, that sounds like corporate screws with scripts so much that it turns into a hot mess. So
yeah, well, we also know that they said that they were doing a trilogy, and I mean, she's obviously lying in this interview, so who knows how often she lies in other interviews, but they've said that they just passed the baton to Rian Johnson, and he did whatever he wanted to do. So they made a trilogy where they had like absolutely no idea what they were actually doing, and
I'm just a little like,
sounds like everyone just got to put their opinion in a hat.
I mean, they know they're making a trilogy from minute one. They're not going to make one movie. That's not going to happen. So they know they're making a trilogy because that's how Star Wars is trilogy. People think that, and people know that. And so when you put episode 7, everybody knows it's a 7, 8, and 9. So I mean, how did people not sit there at that point and J.J. Abrams go, okay, here's the arc for all 3 movies? Like, because this is what I do. I mean, when I write a trilogy, I have my arc plotted out. Sometimes I write one book for the first book, and then figure out the other 2, what logically happened from that point. But usually I have a little bit in mind. Like, the Stars Entwined, I always figured it was going to be a trilogy, and so I have my first one, which was like my little spy romance story. I have my one I'm writing right now, which like complicates the political element in my alien empire. And then my book 3 is going to be a pure just shoot 'em out crazy battle. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So it's like I knew that from the start. I don't understand how you like can lose the vision from movie to movie so easily.
Well, I think they brought in someone else who had a radically different vision and decided to do his own thing. Despite what, I mean, I think there's some rumors. I don't know how. I butcher this guy's name all the time, but Colin Trevorrow, he actually was. I mean, it seemed like they might have had an idea, but he was pissed off, I guess, with what happened with Luke Skywalker and The Last Jedi, and like what he was left with, and that's why he got fired.
This is a very true J.J. Abrams point about Lost. I mean, it was definitely a setup that like had absolutely no plan whatsoever.
Well, I mean, I think that's the issue when I'm not saying that this is an issue for everyone, but TV shows are not made to have, usually are not made for beginnings with an end. Usually, hey, like you might have like an end in sight for like maybe your first season or whatever, but if it's successful, they're going to keep going, and you need to find a way to keep making it happen because you want to keep your job. And
that's very true. It's a very different situation than Star Wars, where you're going to make a trilogy.
Yeah.
Like, right. Yeah. At what point? Oh, this is interesting. At what point would you say we've got this with the story of episode 9? Well, I wouldn't say you ever get to a point where you go, that's it. That's scary.
Yep.
That's very frightening.
That's exactly what Naomi Aki said. The story continues.
That's unbelievable. I always get to a point where I'm like, this is the story, and I feel good about it when I'm writing something. Like, that's obvious.
It's the end of the Skywalker saga, but you're never going to get to a point where that's it.
Right.
Yeah, but it's the end. Okay.
But it's the end. Yeah. Very bizarre.
They need to go back and like they need to actually like go back and rewatch their classic animated Disney films. I watched Robin Hood the other night, and it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you might want to watch that. It's probably one of Disney's better animated films. There's even a scene where like Robin is being chased out of like the castle by Prince John, and you think that they might finally get him when after he broke everyone out of prison. He gets like locked into the castle, and he has to find a way to escape, and the castle's burning down, and he kind of like leaps off the building, and they're shooting him with arrows, and he's got the arrow in his hat. And they kind of foreshadowed it in the beginning, like in the opening scenes where he's being chased by the sheriff's men, and he's fine and safe. But this time, the way they pace it, it's like you see the reaction of what's his name, the bear, John or whatever.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
Little John, and then you see the reaction of Maid Marian or whatever, and you're just like, holy crap, like they got him. And then it's like really slow, and it's like, oh no, he's actually alive.
Is the old school Robin Hood on Disney Plus?
Yeah, the old school animated Robin Hood is on there.
Sweet,
extremely good.
We're gonna watch that. I'm gonna watch that tonight with my kids. I love that when I was a kid.
It also has a strong female character in the hen who literally goes around and plays football with the.
That's true. Yeah. Wow, that's pretty woke.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, never seen strong female characters ever.
Never. Right. I think Captain Marvel was the first. So
yeah, they have these like classic, like Disney has these classic stories that are actually really well written, have good messages in them.
I can't believe like in the 30s through like when was Robin Hood done?
Like I think it was like the 50s. I don't know. I think it was the 50s.
1973. It was that late.
Oh,
wow.
Okay, wow. Yeah.
I'm surprised that like something that late still had this good of a deal, but Disney kind of lasted a while. But anything from back then, you really had people who were competent in the craft, who were doing these things. I mean, it was not the same sort of like let's get the weird indie guy who makes this like weird pulp movie like that he shoots on his iPhone or something about like high school kids pretending to be like noir people. Like, I mean, you would never get that like on your property, right?
I'm sure
that's Ryan Johnson. Yeah.
I'm sure Kathleen Kennedy would say that we didn't have any fairy tales
to draw from.
Yeah.
No. And that's actually why Star Wars worked. I mean, wasn't the whole point of Star Wars that he drew from the Campbellian sort of mythos and all that, and then he just like
that Japanese
inserted
film that they all cite too.
What was it? The Fortress? No. What? I know what you're talking about though. I never saw it. Should I watch that Japanese film?
Hidden Fortress.
Hidden Fortress. Yeah.
I've never seen it either. But apparently it was influential.
Should I watch that, fam, in the chat? I don't know. Never say strong female characters, says Timothy Lim. So.
Even sarcastically? I can't say it sarcastically.
We can say it sarcastically. Yeah.
Come on, the hen is totally a strong female character, man.
Totally.
She was also playing male sports back in the 70s. She's playing football.
Yeah, probably better than the men play football.
I mean, she was running those rhinos over.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I just like this all boggles my mind, but it doesn't because a lot of people attribute maliciousness to it and all that. But I really think that incompetence in large corporations is so high that like when you get a legacy corporation, you breed incompetence, and the incompetent people rise through the ranks because they are the only people who are content within the system to like sit there and wait and like be mediocre at their jobs to the point where they don't get fired. And then somebody above them gets fired or quits and gets fed up. So they get promoted because they're already in the system. And that it leads to mediocrity and incompetence. That is the entire system of a corporation. I hate corporations.
Yeah. I think you're pretty right on that. I don't really have anything else to add there.
Yeah, sorry. All right.
I think you're saying that they, like, a lot of the people who want to rock the boat or have new ideas, have drive, they're usually quashed. And that's not to say that's all corporations. I do think that there are some that can probably keep striving, and like, I think you look at sports teams, they're always adapting. I think that's just maybe a little bit different environment, obviously, but still corporation, and adapting the play style, bringing in new coaches. That's happening all the time. Mike Babcock just got fired from the Maple Leafs, one of the greatest NHL coaches of all time.
What did you see? You saw the rumor about Jon Favreau taking over Star Wars. What do you think about that?
I haven't looked
legit.
Oh, I totally think it's believable. I haven't really looked into that. I saw like the trades were all publishing that. I mean, that's literally something that we ran a story about that almost like as soon as they announced that Feige was going to produce a Kennedy film. I mean, that just seems so obvious on like what's happening. Iger, obviously, if you watch any of his interviews about Star Wars and look at kind of like where Star Wars is in the Disney portfolio, and you listen to some of these, or at least read the transcripts of some of these financial reports, or look at the financial reports and the financial calls, Star Wars is definitely struggling, and I think that Disney knows that.
And it makes it. I mean, to bring in the guy from Iron Man and Iron Man 2, like he knows how to handle
Jungle
this
Book
sort of
and
deal,
Lion King.
right?
He's like their go-to guy now.
Yeah. So I mean, he knows how to handle movies like this, no problem, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many people here are like have been watching The Mandalorian, but I have a lot of issues with The Mandalorian after 2 episodes so far.
I have 0 issues with it.
Well, I mean, I guess you're not a hunter.
Baby Yoda.
Well, I mean, one shot killing a rhino with your little tiny knife is just absolutely ridiculous. Storming into a wild animal's den is just stupid.
But he's got Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
So,
okay, Baby Yoda.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. I have a lot of issues with The Mandalorian, and I feel like I'm one of the few that does. People will catch on soon because, like Game of Thrones, those issues will be exposed.
Wow. Yeah, right. You heard it here that this is going to be as big of a train wreck as Game of Thrones. That's what John Trent says. I
mean, they set him up as being this fearsome guy. He's like the best in the parsec, and then he's like taking half wages. He's a wimp. I
think it's beginning of a hero's journey. I wouldn't worry about that. No,
he's already like forsaking his religion. He's like, my weapons are my religion, and then he literally just gives them up.
He didn't give them up per se.
Oh yeah, he did. He put them on the table and turned them over to the Jawas.
I don't think that's I think that's a big nitpicky point that like is not a big deal in the scope of the series.
Oh, I think it's a trend.
It's a trend.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
why would you take half wages?
Because they set it up like there's like no good wages out there like for bounties right now. So he's got to do what he's got to do because he's got to like reestablish
his tribe's
deal,
wages.
Right?
He took half wages and then he refused to take bounties that were $5,000, which was the highest bounty. So it didn't make any sense.
No, that's not true. They said that this was like the one good bounty like that was out there.
No. So he rejected all the ones that were the highest ones that he actually had pucks for. That were like legit bounties, and then he decided to take this one that was off the books, where he got the silver bar that's like they melt down into his armor.
Interesting, but there's something to deal. There's something to deal with that. That's got backstory to it. That's more than just money.
Yeah, but he didn't know that they had that when he took the deal.
That's true.
Yeah.
Huh. I don't know. I thought it was fun.
I'm not saying it. I'm not like. I'm just saying I have issues with it. I do think it does have a Star Wars vibe to it. It's definitely a lot better than The Last Jedi, but it's not. It's nowhere near perfect. And I don't know. He should have gone in like I don't know. I just thought he was. I think he's kind of a weak character for me right now. He's going around blasting Jawas, and then
they don't really give you much to attach to with the character. Like
Yeah.
that's the only thing that's my kind of main deal about it. And then the setting is like very like they don't really define the setting very well. Like it's like I didn't realize, is that Tatooine? I guess it is, right? They
That's the
didn't,
assumption given that the Jawas are there.
right. They just
but-
never state it though. So it could be random
we don't-
desert planet, you know, and you don't know, right?
Which is kind of antithetical to Star Wars. We usually know what the planets are.
Yeah. So that's my criticism of it, but I
Which
still
means
enjoyed
they
it
haven't
even with
decided
that.
what planets they're on yet.
I think they're trying to purposefully not put little things in there so that people don't nitpick and go, actually, the cantina is supposed to be 45 degrees west by 50 degrees north on the map here, and it's actually in the wrong spot. I think that's why they don't define it and don't say it.
I don't know. I mean, Tatooine's a huge planet. It could be anywhere.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's like knowing Star Wars nerds. I would intentionally do stuff like that just to like not even be able to have people like screw with it, because I totally would, because I wouldn't want to remember that shit if I was Jon Favreau.
Oh, I mean, I don't think that's just being a little that's a little too much, but I don't know.
That's what Star Wars fans do though.
Yeah, they do, and I'm doing it to an extent. But I don't know. The one hit with the knife was just totally absurd to me. I couldn't that was just absolutely ridiculous. And we didn't even see any blood, like he hit an artery or anything. And
yeah, that was kind of weird. I thought it was a with the buildup of that fight, you would have expected the climax to be a little more epic, you know. Is my, I guess, my part of that fight.
Well, I mean, I don't. We review The Mandalorian at 9:00 Eastern after every day it drops.
Sweet.
So we'll be doing that on our Banning in the Comics channel on Friday tomorrow, right? Because today's Thursday. But one of the things that we have an issue with is that the show feels like an RPG. It does.
It feels like it feels like a live action RPG where you're the Mandalorian running around. Yeah. But
this was a side quest to go fetch the egg.
It was, and that's okay. I like that. I find that a benefit.
He upgraded his armor.
He totally did.
Yeah. So yeah.
I find that a benefit. I think that's a good thing about the show.
Yeah.
Like that makes me happy, because I loved running around in Knights of the Old Republic and doing that. Like that made me happy.
Well, so my prediction for this third episode is that he's going to have to. So they're going to it's going to be like a BioWare moral choice, and he's going to have to decide whether he chooses to protect Baby Yoda or like give him up or something.
I can see that
he's going to have to protect between these two factions, because I think there's two factions that are hunting the Baby Yoda. There's the faction that wants to bring it in alive, and then there's obviously a faction that wants it dead, because the droid both said that it wanted, like they thought he needed to kill it, where obviously he was told to bring it in alive.
That makes sense.
So I think there's going to be he's going to have that like moral. He's going to do the dark side or the light side option.
Yeah, and he's going to choose the light side.
Well, yeah, which yeah.
I
of course
could see that totally happening. So somebody mentioned making our own stuff and all that, and making our own Star Wars that's better. I've already done this, so
Dude, I really like your nanite. The
nanite
armor idea is really cool.
Yeah, it got a little inspiration from Bloodshot, and it got just from the healing factor and all that. And then it just having the armor suit, being able to morph so that it is a different thing and actually project because the nanites, of course, would be able to project energy. That makes sense for a weapon too. And so I thought that was a nice little twist on that. Timothy Lim says it's Iron Man with a laser sword. And I don't mind that either. I mean, I don't know. I take all the good things. So
they took Iron Man and they gave him all that nanite stuff too now. So
did they? Yeah, well, that makes sense, because it's a pretty dated concept.
Have you not seen Endgame yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, he has his armor regenerates with nanotechnology or whatever.
Cool. Well, that makes sense to me. I would do that too. I think it's dated otherwise. So this is it. This is a Hero's Quest. Book 2 is more Hero's Quest, and book 3 is my ultimate Star Wars battle, but better than Star Wars. So a devastating super weapon. No way. I mean, where'd I get that from? So if you want that and good and not subversive check that out. And novels are always going to be better than TV anyway, because TV's got to distill things for dumb people who can't read. So.
Yeah. Plus, I feel like you. No, I in novels, like if good writers can make you almost like feel like you're there, like you can smell the flowers or the putrid scent of like the trash like wafting through the city or something, like whatever.
Yeah.
And you can just like smell that when you're like reading those words.
The trash city. I should have book 4 have them go to a trash city that's literally San Francisco
or New York.
Or New York. All right, that's a good spot to end it, I think. Bounding Into Comics is boundingintocomics.com. Check this site for all of your entertainment news. This is where you go and find good stuff like this that we can do a whole stream for an hour on. I mean, there you go. Anything else, John? Do you want to promote anything else right now?
Yeah, so we every Wednesdays we do Bounding Live, 9 p.m. Eastern. We talk about like the headlines. John has joined us there before.
Yeah, that was fun.
We're gonna have to get you back on as well soon. And then Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern, we do our Mandalorian reviews. So if you just want to head over to the Bounding Into Comics YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. And we also try and put up trailers, and I try and do some scripted videos as well. I've been doing some moving lately, so I haven't been able to get anything up this
What's
week.
a scripted video?
Oh, it's just like a video that I like write a script for, and I read the script, and I don't know. It's just like it's like a YouTube video.
That sounds like a lot of work.
So I take like one of my story. I take like an article that I would write, kind of, and I write a script for it, and I do a video on it. And then
what John's trying to say is he actually works on his YouTube content, unlike me. So I put I put the link in the chat. So go subscribe to Bounding Into Comics. They have you're beating me by leaps and bounds. Bounding, get it? So they've got almost 6,000 subscribers, kicking ass over there. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, if you could subscribe, we appreciate it. We're able to do this because of our fans and followers.
Yeah, and thank you for joining me on short notice. That's nice of you, and I appreciate it every time you come on and hang out. It's fun.
Oh yeah, anytime, man.
Cool.
Shoot me an invite.
Sweet. All right, guys. I will see you later. I will be at Wizard World Bay Area tomorrow. So who's there? Rob Liefeld's there. What should I ask Rob Liefeld? Should I ask him anything?
Is he actually going to be suing DC Comics or whatever?
You think I should actually like go up and like ask, like he's gonna look at me and be like, "Are you a plant?" and hate me if I do that, right?
I don't know. I think he has a pretty good sense of humor.
He does.
On Twitter.
I wonder if he knows who I am. We'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then who else? Ron Mars is going to be there. Ron Mars hates me.
Yeah. Dude, he has some good stuff too. I read some of his Dynamite published it. It was freaking John Carter. He had some good John Carter stories.
I didn't know he did John Carter.
Yeah, he has some good John Carter
I've read a lot of his stuff over the years. He did Exo Manowar for 20 issues back in the day in 1990 something.
Yeah.
And those were great. And he did Silver Surfer like during the whole Infinity Gauntlet thing. He was actually in charge of writing that after Jim Starlin, and he did a great job there too. And then I actually liked his Witchblade a lot too.
Yeah, he's a solid comic book writer.
Very good writer. Does not like me. So,
well, I think I know why.
Does it have to do with Trump?
Probably. I'm sure he doesn't like me either.
Yeah, it is what it is. So maybe he'll like me in person. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow, and I'll make a video of it and let you know. So see you guys.
All right.